What if the people who hurt you most are secretly teaching you to shine brightest? Their silence, their neglect, it wasn't your defeat, it was your awakening. You thought their absence broke you, but it built you stronger. They walked away believing your kindness was weakness, your quiet was surrender. They didn't yell or fight. They chose a colder weapon, indifference. That silent cruelty cut deeper than any loud betrayal. It wasn't what they said, it was what they didn't. The ignored texts, the half-hearted replies, the fake smiles that never reached their eyes. The moments they made you feel invisible. You stood there, fading, while they acted like your pain didn't matter, like your presence was a burden they could shrug off without a second thought. But here's the truth. Their neglect wasn't your fault. It was their limit. You loved deeply, stayed loyal, saw potential they never showed. You held on, not out of weakness, but because your heart was wired for hope. You believed their silence was stress, their distance a phase. You made excuses. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they care deep down. Maybe they'll show up if you wait a little longer. But they didn't. They were showing you exactly who they were. People too scared to face your light, too shallow to match your depth, too cowardly to own their choices. Their absence wasn't an accident. It was a statement, a brutal one, saying your pain wasn't real to them, your value not worth their effort. You almost bought their lie. You questioned your worth, wondered if you were too much or not enough. Their coldness made you doubt your warmth. Their absence blurred your instincts. You started to think maybe you were the problem, maybe your expectations were too high, maybe emotional connection was a fantasy. Their indifference was a trap, making you feel small so they could feel safe. But then clarity hit, not from their words, but from their actions. You weren't begging for love, you were begging to be seen, and that's when you stopped. Stoicism taught you to rise, not react. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not events. You didn't fight back or chase closure, you observed. You saw their silence wasn't your shame, it was their choice. Their neglect wasn't your flaw, it was their fear of your strength. You stopped explaining your heart to people who didn't listen. You stopped shrinking to fit their small world. You realized you weren't too much. You were too real for people too afraid to be honest. Your depth scared them, your authenticity challenged them, and they ran because facing you meant facing themselves. Their absence hurt, but it also freed you. It exposed every crack in your boundaries, every blind spot in your self-respect, every moment you gave too much to those who gave nothing. They didn't just leave. They gave you a blueprint to never be treated that way again. You learned what manipulation looks like when it's disguised as care. Those half-promises, those fleeting moments of affection meant to keep you hooked. You saw how emotional unavailability hides behind charm, how their "I'm busy" was code for "you're not worth my time." You felt the sting of being breadcrumbed, blamed, silenced, then called too sensitive for noticing. They didn't just hurt you, they taught you to protect your soul from those who weaponize your kindness. You stopped chasing their validation and started building your own. You turned pain into power, betrayal into boundaries, heartbreak into wisdom. You didn't need their apology to heal. You needed your own courage. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than reality. Their silence wasn't punishment, it was their limit. You stopped translating their coldness into mystery, their neglect into depth. You saw them for what they were, people who couldn't match your heart's intensity, who chose ego over empathy, comfort over accountability. Your silence now speaks louder than their noise. You didn't curse them out or send a rage-filled text. You left quietly, powerfully, with a dignity they'll never grasp. Your absence is their mirror now. They feel it in empty moments, unshared victories, nights when no one checks if they're okay. They thought they had time to change, that your kindness was endless, your loyalty permanent. But you moved on. You stopped orbiting people who made your world smaller. You stopped forgiving those who saw your grace as permission to hurt you again. Karma doesn't shout, it whispers. It's not revenge, it's balance. Every tear you cried in solitude, every moment you chose grace over anger, every time you loved despite their apathy, it's all counted. The universe keeps receipts, and it's patient. They didn't just lose you, they lost the rarest kind of light, someone who saw them, stayed through their storms, and loved without demanding perfection. Now they wake to emptiness, not because you curse them, but because they built a hollow world. Their mask slips, their curated life unravels from the inside. They thought hurting you cost nothing, but your absence is the price they didn't see coming, a private sting of realizing they lost something irreplaceable. You don't need to watch their downfall or track their regret. The universe isn't fast, but it's precise. Your job isn't to prove your worth, it's to live it. You're not waiting for their "I'm sorry." Closure isn't their words, it's your peace. You burned unsent letters, deleted dead chats, let go of hoping they get it. You chose growth over nostalgia, peace over explanation, strength over validation. That's your justice. They laughed while you cried, stayed silent while you begged for answers, watched you drown in confusion, offering no lifeline. Just distance, more silence, more cold. But your glow says what words never could. You're not the broken person they expected. You're someone they can't reach, not out of spite, but because you outgrew them. Your peace intimidates them. They saw your silence as weakness. Now it's louder than any argument. You stopped being their emotional crutch and became your own foundation. You built a life that doesn't need their permission to shine, a heart that doesn't need their approval to love. Your standards rose, not from ego, but from experience. You don't crave attention, you value intention. You don't tolerate almost or someday. You choose people who show up fully or not at all. That's growth forged in fire, maturity born from pain. You turned agony into armor, not to harden your heart, but to protect its softness. Emotional intelligence isn't just kindness. It's recognizing patterns, knowing when silence is punishment, when jokes are jabs, when love feels like walking on eggshells. They'll never admit it, but they feel your absence. In quiet moments, they know you were the one. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. They chased distractions. You offered depth. They played games. You tried to build something lasting. They weren't ready, and now they're surrounded by noise but starving for connection. Their karma isn't loud drama. It's the private realization they lost someone who saw their soul and stayed until they gave you no reason to. You're not looking back. Your glow isn't fueled by their regret. It's your rebirth. You stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't bandage you, explaining to ears that never listened. You're living where love is clarity, not confusion, where peace is your baseline. Your presence is a revolution, proof you can lose everything and find yourself. You don't need them, not their approval, closure, or permission to rise. You've risen. Don't go back to the you who settled, tolerated being ignored, confused chaos for passion. You've outgrown rooms that demanded silence, people who loved only what they could control. As Marcus Aurelius said, what stands in the way becomes the way. Those dark moments shaped you, forged your discipline, redirected your destiny. Why shrink to fit spaces that suffocated you? You're not someone's lesson or bandage. You're the main character, not a background actor. Let them miss you. Let them tell lies to sleep better. Keep walking. The only apology you owe is to yourself, for years thinking love meant shrinking. You don't dim your truth now. You don't choose people who pick ego over healing, control over connection. You were never too loud. The room was too quiet. Never too deep. They feared their reflection. Your walk is aligned, not bitter. You don't chase closure. Your peace doesn't need their apology. Your worth doesn't negotiate. You walk through fire. Your light shines. Your presence is a revolution, proof it's possible to lose all and find yourself. Don't go back to surviving. Build a life without explanation, a peace untouched by old triggers, a future where power comes from being whole. When old spaces call, a text, memory, apology, breathe. Remember what it cost to escape. Walk forward with reverence for how far you've come. Here you are, at a new beginning. They thought they could hurt you and walk away untouched, but karma waits. While they mocked your heart, the universe sharpened your strength. They dismissed you. Your spirit learned boundaries. They chose ego. They lost a soul that loved despite being shattered. Your glow is for you, for mornings you fought to wake up, silent battles no one saw, moments you chose peace over hate. Don't heal, thrive, don't rise, soar. Don't move on, transcend. Let them count losses while you build dreams. Live your truth. Walk like peace is sacred. Speak like your voice matters. Choose those who don't need convincing to treat you right. You're not what happened. You're what you became. You're your own revolution. Keep rising, glowing, owning your story. Your light is unstoppable.